in the northeast of the academy, the undeveloped forest. I was trying to escape the prying eyes of the students and ended up walking for half a day. That's plenty of time to understand the situation I'm in. I find myself at the Sylvania Academy. Fortunately, although I was expelled from the family, I haven't been expelled from school. This is crucial for my future life, as Sylvania is a top-tier academy. As long as I can graduate, my life afterwards will be secure. So, my current goal is to graduate successfully. Next comes the issue of the expensive tuition. If I can secure a scholarship for next semester, this problem will be easily solved. But when I look at the attribute values next to me, I fall silent. Do I really have a chance to get a scholarship? It would already be good not to be held back a grade. For now, let's focus on the immediate problems, solving the basics of food, clothing, and shelter. I opened my suitcase and assessed my situation. How can I avoid turning into a bum? I see I have enough clothes. According to the original script's assessment of this guy, unable to find work and unable to return to the expelled dormitory, it seems I'll have to live temporarily in this forest. Afterwards, I find a spot near a stream. I plan to build my house here, where there's a water source. Food should also be more plentiful. Although I can use magic to chop trees, this body gets exhausted after cutting just 5 or 6 branches. Right now, I'm very hungry, so I turn my gaze towards the nearby wood. I remember my grandfather once said, tree bark is edible too. I'll just have to make do for now. If you don't look closely, it does look a bit like chicken breast. A bite, crunchy yet tough, tastes like chicken, but without any protein. After starving for a day and throwing up for 2, I came to the conclusion that wood should be used for building houses. First, you need to raise the frame that supports the wood. I only have 2 hands, but there are 4 supports. This really isn't an easy job, but I needed to persevere and tie the frame top quickly. The shelter's frame is complete, but still a long way to go. I gather my clothes for me to sleep on. I can't sleep on bare ground. Night came, and I continued building the shelter. The day arrived, and I barely managed to finish it. As I was resting, the system popped up. I earned the title of novice craftsman for completing the basic wood shelter. I looked at it with tired eyes, so the crafting system's popping up as it too. Compared to magic, it seems Ed is more suited to craft work. Right now, my stomach keeps on growling from hunger, so I need that handiness. Following that, I made a simple harpoon because I wanted to eat fish. 2 days on an empty stomach and excessive physical labor. I definitely shouldn't be able to move right now, yet it must be desperation that is keeping me moving. Soon, I caught 2 small fish with it. I get myself to create a fire to cook it. Although the fish are small, they're enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Now, with 1 week left before school starts, I just need to keep going like this, and I'll be able to get through school without much trouble. Just then, the appearance of a young girl disrupted my tranquil life. Damn, I was so busy surviving that I forgot something important. The main characters, but of all the people, I didn't expect to meet her here. Princess Phinia, the one who drove Ed out of the dormitory. Ed Rothtailor is a villain who appears at the beginning of the game, using his noble status to hassle the protagonist's childhood friend. Although beaten half to death, Ed didn't give up and harbored resentment over it. During the entrance exam at Sylvania, Ed forged the protagonist's test paper. However, his lies were seen through by a girl who came to take the entrance exam while hiding her identity. Phinia Kloll, the 3rd imperial princess of the Kloll Empire, and by activating insight she was able to detect the target's lies and conspiracies. Ed, who was caught in a sad state, gritting his teeth making excuses, had all of his lies exposed by Phionia's insight and then chased out of the dorm. Since then, Ed has become the most despised person at the academy. And now, I have met the last person I should have encountered. I was a bit in shock when she leaned closer. It turns out, Phinea's purpose for coming here was to make me withdraw from school voluntarily. Although I am concerned about the fish that is about to burn and having been starving for 3 whole days, the current crisis is even more problematic. This woman named Phinia, she indeed has the power to make me leave school. If that's the case, why not turn the tables? Aren't the royalty always guarded by heavily armed soldiers? To think that a noble princess has come to an isolated forest like this alone, isn't that dangerous? Hearing this, Phinia immediately took a defensive stance. Just when she thought I was going to resist, I instead expressed my sincerest gratitude to her. Insight, activate. Immediately, she activated her insight. She was utterly shocked because the insight detected no lies. Seeing her reaction, she seemed very surprised. That's because I really didn't lie. The Rothtailor family that Ed belongs to is a powerful noble family, but they have been oppressing the common people using their status, even conducting human experiments in pursuit of immortality. In the end, this family became a trash group that the protagonist had to eliminate. Members were either beheaded or imprisoned, doomed never to rise again. But Ed was fortunate in his misfortune, because being expelled from the family saved him from disaster. I may be cold and hungry right now, but it's still better than dying. After all, if it weren't for her, I might have already died due to my family's troubles. Then it would be game over for me. Therefore, now I must not let her catch any leverage on me, otherwise, she will definitely force me to withdraw from school. However, I am curious about why she came here. I know she must have come over after spotting me by chance. You came here for the class placement test, didn't you? Professor Glast's class placement test is a test to find magic beads hidden in the forest. forest. This test is known for being notoriously difficult, but if it's the noble Princess Phinia. However, she directly stopped my words, thinking I was just flattering her, but my next words left her stunned. Without my help, you definitely won't make it into Class A. If I'm lying, I will withdraw from school voluntarily. Subsequently, she followed my directions to the center of the island. There, she saw the gift I had mentioned. At this moment, Phinia was full of doubts. Just 3 days ago, Ed still had a despicable demeanor, but from his recent behavior, she could no longer see through Ed's thoughts. The class placement test has officially ended. Soon, the time to announce the results arrived. Take out the beads you have acquired. The confident new students each presented the magic beads they had found. However, Professor Glass directly placed them in Class F. It turns out, this test was not just about finding magic beads, but more importantly, the quality of the beads. Only those who found beads with particularly little magic power could be placed into Class A. The lower the quality of the bead, the more it proved a person's sensitivity to magical power. Only 3 of you found this type of bead. They are Zix, Lortel, and lastly the one who found a bead at the Guardian Tree would become the top student among the newcomers. Meanwhile, on the other side, my fishing plan ran into problems. Due to primitive tools and the scarcity of fish types, the number of fish caught was small, and I don't have the strength to use a spear anymore. At this moment, I could only fish again using simple tools. Phinia has seen through countless flatteries and sophistries since childhood. Under the watch of the insight, I cannot lie, so I can only give her the most truthful information. But originally, in the story, Phinia was supposed to be placed in Class F. If she finds the golden bead and enter Class A, the entire storyline would undergo a massive change. Although I wouldn't need to withdraw from school, my information would thus become useless. However, things did not develop as I imagined. The top student among the newcomers was still Lucy Merrill. The future might still not change. Insight will always see the truth. It turns out, before this, Phinia confirmed that I had not lied, but she did not accept my gift. She concealed her identity to take the exam, to avoid special treatment, so she couldn't accept this bead, as finding it would be something she didn't accomplish on her own. In the future, Phinia will be known as the Princess of Love. It is not a skill or stat, but a title she would gain by walking the righteous path. I threw bait at the princess. Just as I said, she ultimately did not succeed in entering Class A. Now, Phinia is increasingly curious about me. She seems unable to see through my thoughts anymore. Ed Rothtaylor, I will keep my eyes on you. Time quickly passed, and a week later, I finally faced the first day of school. Welcome, down and out noble. Whispers entered my ears, but I didn't pay much attention to them because those rumors were not true. At this moment, I am enjoying the high-end lunch at the academy. Let them talk if they love to talk. Right now, I just want to graduate peacefully and avoid any trouble. However, on the first day of school at Sylvania, I was called to the principal's office. Fortunately, I was not expelled. Unexpectedly, Phinia had told the principal about my situation, but she probably didn't speak ill of me. Otherwise, I would have been expelled by now. Anyway, I barely managed to avoid it, I thought as I sighed. Even so, I still need to be careful to not let things deviate too much from the original story. In order to survive, I work hard to hone my life skills, but as a student of the magic department, training in magic is equally indispensable. To master both, there's probably no weapon more suitable than the bow and arrow. As my life skills continue to improve, I gradually become capable of making high-quality arrows. Eventually, I might even add psychic or magical formulas to the arrows. Just then, a pink-haired girl appeared in front of me. She is the top genius spirit sorcerer of the second year, Janica. So you're the amusing guy Marilda was talking about? Upon seeing me, Janica came straight up to greet me. But how did she get all the way here? Are you surprised? Because I know about you? Janica asked cheerfully. It turns out, every move of mine was under the watch of Marilda, the guardian of this forest. After all, to her, I am nothing more than an unwelcome visitor. Indeed, I had chopped down many trees and hunted quite a few small animals. However, Janica signaled that I need not worry. After all, this is the law of nature. I guess even the huge wild wolf had grown somewhat tender-hearted towards me. Hearing this, Janica is a bit surprised, then agrees with me while laughing. Then, Janica pulled out something. It was a spirit she had contracted yesterday. Do you want to touch it? She asked. If I wanted to be friends with Janica, I just needed to go along with her, but I couldn't do that, so I outright refused her. I didn't see anything. After a brief farewell, I turned and left. Only by letting everything unfold according to the original work can I gain advanced knowledge. Janica, who plays a significant role in the original work, is definitely someone I should not get close to. Watching Ed's slowly receding figure, Janica found him increasingly interesting. As Marilda had said, he is an interesting person. However, one thing is certain, that is, he really can't see your presence. At this moment, Janica was somewhat angry because she had been very friendly, yet Ed had responded with just a simple ah, but she didn't dwell on it too much. After all, there would be many more opportunities to meet in the future. Ed Rothtaylor, what is your true nature? The place where I live is far from the academic buildings. I need to wake up very early every day to arrive at class on time. However, just commuting to and from school each day is enough to improve my ability values. In order to get a scholarship, I must study hard. On the way home, my clothes were soaked with sweat, but even after all this, my day day wasn't over yet. I still had to check on the firewood, drinking water, and the meat needed for tomorrow's lunch. However, what concerned me more at the moment was the tag-along following me. How long do you plan to follow me? Hearing this, Janica was confused, then was utterly shocked that I knew. Don't you know who I am? I am Ed Rothtaylor, the worst hooligan to exist. Ed Rothtaylor, why do you keep hanging around me? However, Janica showed no signs of backing down. That's just what others think of you. I don't know you at all. Hearing this, I suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Janica is just that kind of character. On the surface, she seems like a naive, sweet girl, but in reality, she is more aware than anyone. Standing from the perspective of someone who knows her future fate, I cannot chat with her smilingly. After all, she is the final boss of the first chapter. I need to find a way to get rid of her. So, I asked her if she could do me a small favor. Hearing that I needed help, she seemed very happy. As you can see, my situation is quite bad. After being expelled, I'm down and out. So, could you lend me some money? Upon hearing this, Janica was petrified. Janica gets a scholarship every year, which not only signifies her excellence but is also crucial for her continued stay at this school. As the daughter of a small farm, Janica's weakness is indeed money. As expected, Janica turned me down. 3 days quickly passed, and during these days, Janica didn't seek me out again. Finally, I no longer had to worry about deviating from the storyline. Just as I was about to return to the treehouse for some sleep, someone I could not even dare to imagine appeared inside. In terms of importance, she holds more weight than Janica, universally recognized as a super genius from classmates to professors, the strongest and failed swordsman of Sylvania, Lucy Merrill. Oh my god, why is she sleeping here? This is my territory. What is she even doing in this mountain valley? You're so loud that I can't sleep. Hearing this, I was confused. What did I do? Not you. At the same time, Lucy pointed behind me. That wolf over there, which is as big as a house, and there stood Marilda at that moment. Marilda hopes that one day I could step in to guide Janica. However, I didn't pay attention to what she said, since I can't see anything on where she is pointing at. I had just managed to shake off Janica, and now she crossed mountains and valleys to sleep here? Don't go back to sleep. Suddenly, I realized something. Thanks to her small stature and her ability to walk on air, she is able to go pretty much anywhere, much like a stray cat. No matter where, as long as there's a suitable place to sleep, Lucy can arrive instantly. That being said, my campsite is in the northern forest of Arkan Island. Nobody comes this far, but it's not that far for her. The breeze is cool, and with the sound of the stream nearby, it's the perfect place to skip class and nap. I'm really at my wit's end. So for Lucy, this treehouse isn't far at all. I can't beat her. I just have to accept it and take the loss as a blessing. The scene shifts to the next day. Lucy was still lying in front of my treehouse just like yesterday. To sleep, she had used several high-level spells to get here. If this absolute beast continues to stay here, the deviation from the original story will only get closer. And no matter what I say, she completely ignores me. According to countless strategy posts I've seen, there's only one way to deal with her right now. So, she was eating. I reminded her I just met a maid from the Ophelis Hall on my way back. Hearing this, Lucy instantly broke into a sweat and dropped her food while being utterly shocked. Then without a word, she turned around and ran off. It really worked like magic. Lucy spends every day avoiding that maid who cares for her like a mother, so she often hides all over the place. I smiled. Lucy Merrill, out. She's only been here for 2 days, so there shouldn't be any problems, right? However, a few days later, I realized that things were far from as simple as I thought. The Academy's joint combat training started with one-on-one practical duels. Most of the participants in this activity are important characters from the original story. Benevolent Princess Phenia, Golden Daughter Lortel, Spear from Nature Zix, Spirit Sorcerer Janica, Slothful Lucy, Wicked Clebius. Of course, the most important is the protagonist, the failing swordsman, Taylor. However, I'm actually looking forward to the protagonist's scenes. After all, I already know the outcome, so I didn't pay much attention to the matches. During the joint combat training, most of the plot aligns with the original story where the first-year students are the winners of the duels, except for one person, Janica Faylover. She actually came to find me. I can't believe she's running all happily to me after going through the pathetic experience of me asking her for money. If Lucy has a cat-like personality, then Janica is definitely dog-like. At this moment, Janica, holding the duel roster, talks non-stop to me. Don't you want to know who you're fighting against? Suddenly, a bad thought flashes through my mind. I'm still at school, which means I have to participate in the duel too. When I saw the roster, I was dumbfounded. No way! I'm fighting against Princess Phenia. At the same time, I hear Taylor's name. Is the protagonist finally about to make his entrance? Who I'm up against doesn't really matter. Although it's through a screen, I've played the game countless times with the character Taylor, from tragic and void endings to the real endings that leave a lasting impression. I completed that journey countless times. Among the countless routes, there wasn't a single route that wasn't arduous and difficult. I've already decided on taking care of my own life, but I'm cheering for you, Taylor. Just then, the referee couldn't find Lucy's figure. Where had this girl run off to? Quickly, I spotted her under the standby platform. This is Taylor's important scene where he first wields a sword. Lucy, you can't just be absent. First year, top of the class Lucy Merrill versus Taylor McClure, this world's protagonist born with the fate to be a swordsman. demon in his first duel cuts through Lucy's magic like lightning. The spell she had thought would obviously hit was blocked, catching her off guard. Watching the attack so close, Lucy, frightened, used an intermediate spell and thus was disqualified from the match. Taylor became the first person to defeat Lucy. It was a legendary scene in the game. Thus, the match start. Taylor is the first to attack Lucy, but before he gets close, Lucy knocked Taylor flying with just one move. As the dust settles, Taylor is knocked seated on the floor. The scene leaves the audience dumbfounded. While Lucy is barely awake when she did that attack, Taylor McClure's life was always a series of trials. A country bumpkin and a failure of a student. A failure that wasn't acknowledged by anyone. While everyone jumped to conclusions regarding the match, in an outright wicked situation where they pitted him. Even in the midst of all this despair, Taylor never lost hope. That's right, Taylor, you can do it. Then Taylor swung his sword again, attacking Lucy. The famous scene is coming, and here, Lucy will use lightning magic. But things didn't go as I had thought. Lucy didn't use lightning magic, but wind magic. Taylor was controlled by the magic. As Lucy powered up the spell, Taylor was sent flying out. What is this situation? Not lightning magic? Why would Lucy use wind magic? The Taylor who should have won actually lost. I was utterly shocked. This is going to be a big problem. We definitely can't leave him alone. Protection of the wind. Using the power of the wind spirit automatically protects you from sudden attacks. It's a continuous magic obtained through contracting with a high-class wind spirit Marilda. According to the scenario, Marilda and Lucy are originally two separate entities, and Lucy, who originally had no wind magic, suddenly contracted a wind spirit. All this is because she interacted with me. At this moment, Taylor, dejected, left the dueling platform. I sprint to catch up to Taylor. Just as I was about to catch up with Taylor, Princess Phineas stopped me because it was my turn to duel with her next. I quickly run past her. I must find a way to restore his confidence. I called out his name. Taylor, your efforts will definitely pay off. Don't feel so down. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Walk proudly. You did good. It's just that the opponent wasn't a good match for you. Don't let something like this get you down. If the protagonist breaks down, then who will defeat the boss? The first person to discover Phineas' innate insight was Emperor Kloll. Her ability wasn't something given by some god. The life of a royal is riddled with endless intrigue and conspiracy. From within that dark abyss, she developed this sense herself as a means of self-protection. That's why Princess Phineas can be confident about her ability. There was an ugly abyss in the eyes of the imperial family that looked up to Phineas. Even when she saw through them, the Princess of Love lived as if she didn't know. There was nothing I could do about this match. I just had to end the duel quickly. Please go easy on me, I said while getting ready for the match. Yes, please go easy on me as well. Hearing people's negative comments about what I did earlier made Phineas confused at the moment. She knew that Ed Taylor used his position to embarrass his juniors, and when it didn't work out the way he wanted, he was caught altering the test results. He was sure to be like that in the past. But is that really all? Earlier, when she saw my desperation, she knew it was real. Now, let the duel begin. Phineas hoped to see Ed's true character through this duel. Then, Phineas released a water spell. The magic that Ed can use is wind and fire. She thought I would defend. The attack hit me squarely in the chest. Seeing this, Phineas was stunned because she knew Ed had seen the trajectory of the attack, yet he chose not to dodge, pretending to be overwhelmed instead. What confused her even more was that Ed never once looked her in the eyes, seeming uninterested in the duel from start to finish. After the duel ended, I hurriedly left the dueling arena. The duel didn't matter at all. Now, it was better to check on the protagonist. But just then, Phineas blocked my path again, looking absolutely angry. You never intended to win against me from the start. You just wanted to get off the dueling platform quickly. Due to Ed's appearance, Phineas' mind was now completely muddled. I didn't expect that she had been under so much pressure. Seeing Phineas close to breaking down, I held her shoulder and immediately had her take deep breaths to calm down. A moment later, Phineas, due to my actions which seemed too intimate, had already blushed. It turns out, she has a bad habit. Because of her long life in the royal family, she always habitually guesses others' thoughts. I really wanted to go and find Taylor. Then, she directly asked me, is it because you know about the bad things the Taylor family has done that you deliberately severed ties with them? Did you need a reason to be thrown out of the house, so you bullied Taylor? I must say, her reasoning is very sharp, though completely wrong. However, her mention of the Taylor family doing bad things behind the scenes is indeed true. Yet, I chose to play dumb. After all, these are matters she will investigate herself in the future. There's no way I'm wrong. It doesn't make sense logically. Then why are you supporting the person you were trying to get expelled earlier? Did you never dislike Taylor in the first place? Although Phineas knows I'm lying, without sufficient evidence she can't say anything as of now. Ultimately, she could only let me go. Thank you, I said as I opened the door. But just then, I thought this was the first time I saw Phineas with this side of hers. She has a significant role in the story, intertwined with many characters and events. Now, the sudden addition of me in the original story must be driving her crazy. As I was leaving, I reminded her, although the burden is heavy, you also need to relax occasionally, because this is not the palace, but Sylvania Academy. Phineas has seen countless people, but this was the first time someone had seen through her heart. The scene shifts, and I found Taylor sitting by the bench. Just as I was thinking about how to encourage him, his his childhood friend Isla appeared. She is the female protagonist of this game. Seeing me, she mistook me for coming to bully Taylor again, making the situation momentarily awkward. However, this scene stunned me. I hadn't expected Taylor to have revived. As long as Isla is there, Taylor always manages to pick himself up. Seeing my arrival, Taylor thought I had some scheming plot again. However, I immediately denied his thoughts. Although in the past I treated him as a scapegoat to suffer for me, but at this moment I breathed a sigh of relief. Not because the content of the original story had changed, but because Taylor, who has been with me for a long time, is still here. When I turned to leave, Taylor and Isla were suddenly stunned. Why did this guy suddenly start acting cool? Just then, a soaring flame captured everyone's attention. It turned out their duel had begun. The duel between Lortel, the Golden Daughter, and Janica, the Spirit Sorcerer. Though it's in a different form from the original, I'm sure Taylor and Isla are watching this scene. Keep your eyes peeled, Taylor, because one of the numerous trials approaching you, the Act 1 final boss is Janica Feylover. This duel is the final boss Taylor has to face in his first challenge. However, the duel ended with Janica's victory. Looking at the severely injured Lortel, Janica wasn't sure if she had been too harsh. Unlike the original, this time Taylor lost to Lucy, and the protagonist of the joint combat practice became Janica. After this, Janica would likely be busy for a long time, which is good news for me. Whenever I get involved with main characters, my mind becomes cluttered. Now, without the disturbance of main characters, I can finally devote all my energy to survival and studying. I have a fishing net, so the food problem somewhat solved. My various attributes have also seen significant improvements, and my body's also getting better. The standard for each attribute value is 10, so I still can't afford to slack off. Unexpectedly, Janica found me again. She has already seen my body fully, but I was curious why she came looking for me. It turns out, she wanted to consult about something. Advice? Why me out of all people? I thought to myself, you left early at that time so you might not have seen it. So it was about last month when she accidentally hurt Lortel in a real battle. She did accidentally hurt Lortel, but as far as I know, Lortel had first used an intermediate spell. However, the kind-hearted Janica wouldn't consider these details. She only cared about her own responsibility. Although her friends advised her not to apologize, I understand Janica's character, so I told her, just follow what your heart tells you to do. The Janica now is still that lively, cheerful, and charming treasure of a girl. When she feels guilty and blames herself, everyone unconditionally supports and comforts her. However, Janica is well aware that, no matter how much everyone may favor her, her mistake will not simply disappear. So, that's why she came to see me. After hearing what I had said, Janica visibly relaxed a lot. Ed would definitely not unconditionally favor me. She suddenly blurted out such a sentence, which left me stunned for a moment. If I don't say something, I wouldn't be able to respond to her. At this moment, Janica realized that Ed had completely changed as a person. When Ed said, "It's tough, I want to borrow money," she noticed that Ed didn't have the urgency of being driven into a corner. Instead, she felt that Ed was using the issue of borrowing money to deliberately signal her to keep her distance. But unexpectedly, those sides of Ed made Janica feel even more reassured. The next day, I can clearly feel that the storyline has now greatly changed. The Failed Swordsman of Sylvania is called a masterpiece. However, very few have seen the ending of the Failed Swordsman of Sylvania. Many novice players encounter various tragic endings right from the start. For example, saving a female classmate ambushed during the class division test, accidentally discovering the secret of the Golden Daughter, followed by Taylor being assassinated, or from Janica's summoned fire spirit, saving the Golden Daughter, but Taylor gets burned to death as a result. And now, I'm being hassled by this woman. Damn it. Then, she directly blocked my way. The Failed Swordsman of Sylvania's fourth heroine, the business magnate El Ketchum's only daughter, Lortel Ketchum, because she wanted to buy 2 hours of my time with money. The reason I don't want to interact with her is because she has a terrifying title, Newbie Crusher. Lortel Ketchum is designated as the hidden hero. Unlike Fenia, Lortel is set as a villain from the start, and only later in the story does her true nature gradually reveal itself. When players come to understand the realism of Lortel's distress and loneliness, they must make a choice between Fenia and Lortel. But I can't trust her words right now. If I follow Lortel's pace, control might indeed be taken away by her. At this moment, Lortel is like a clingy little sprite, constantly begging me to help her, yet I still choose to ignore her. Seeing you is such an inspiration to me. Even such difficult circumstances you continue learning. Seeing my impervious attitude, Lortel directly pulled out 3 gold coins. If you can help Janica and me become friends, these 3 gold coins are yours. For some people, this is an entire month's income. Does the Golden Daughter intend to buy connections with money? Before I could even refuse, she stuffed the gold coins into my pocket. This person is sharp. She has realized that she will compete with Princess Fenia for control of the academy in the future, so she's already starting to rally allies for herself. If it were the old Ed, he might have accepted the money without hesitation. However, I extended my hand and said, "Sure, let's at least shake hands on that." Seeing this, Lortel's lips slightly curled up. In her view, those who are accustomed to a life of plenty, once impoverished, the spirit can be easily broken. Just a little bit of money can make them sell their dignity. Controlling Handling desperate people for her is nothing simpler, but things didn't go as she expected. I actually stuffed the gold coins back into her hand. This piqued her interest in Ed. While the money could indeed have been a great help to me, just the thought of the newbie crusher Lortel and Janica together and the terrible consequences that might ensue, I simply couldn't accept it. To avoid any potential changes to the original storyline, I chose to flatly refuse. That night, Lortel wasn't embarrassed or shamed by my refusal. As a perfect businesswoman who understands benefits, profits, and self-worth, she wouldn't easily give up any opportunity within reach. Instead, she was more eager to have Janica on her side. Soon, she carefully orchestrated a chance meeting. Lortel had researched Janica's character. To everyone, Janica is like the protagonist of a fairy tale, innocent, kind, and compassionate. She wanted to use Janica's sense of guilt to manipulate her, but this idea was too naive, because what happened at noon, Janica had already known. As a spirit sorcerer, Janica has the ability to communicate with spirits. Her conversation with me had already been transmitted to her through the spirit. Your intention to invest gold for me, though it moves me. You know how they say you can't buy sincerity with money. Ed's words brought tears to Janica's eyes. In such a dire situation, he didn't sell himself for gold. Did I act too smug about myself? It's my first time being a senior, so I might have boasted a little. This is embarrassing. Then, Janica turned and left, because she still had to deal with signing a contract with a high-level spirit. At this moment, Lortel's impression of Janica also changed. She no longer saw Janica as someone unaware of the world. On the contrary, Janica was very aware of the world's darkness, but still maintained an optimistic attitude. Just as Janica was about to leave, she still apologized to Lortel. Lortel froze for a moment, since it was indeed her fault in the first place. However, she noticed that Janica's state just now seemed a bit off, like a person standing on the edge of a cliff, precariously balanced. I gotta work harder, because it's really nice when people expect good things from you. A few days later, just as I was hanging out laundry, Lucy smelled something familiar, and just that, she blasted herself to the sky, disrupting my rare moment of peace. Then I heard someone getting closer. Unexpectedly, it was a maid from the Sylvania high-class dormitory, the Ophilus Hall, Belle Maya, the very maid who had driven me out of the dorm. When Belle saw me, she didn't seem surprised, because she had heard about this from Janica. But what surprised her was how hard my life seemed to be. Belle's words didn't fully reach my ears, because my eyes were fixed on the basket in her hands. The maids of Ophilus Hall, responsible for the daily lives of elite students to perfection, including feeding the students. Inside that basket must be their hand-picked, top-quality ingredients gathered from the forest, which made my mouth water. In the game, these maids don't have much of a role. Like me in the plot, they are minor characters. Belle wouldn't affect any storyline developments, so I thought establishing a good relationship with her should be fine. Following that, I asked her for advice on the various edible ingredients found in the forest, which would be more helpful for my upcoming survival. Currently, I have plenty of meat and fish, which basically meets my dietary needs. Although I only know 2 basic spells, with constant use, I quickly reached proficiency level 10. Using magic for chopping wood or cooking, my survival efficiency has greatly increased. At this moment, I'm tasting the dinner I made myself, watching the sunset dye the sky red. Honestly, I'm really enjoying this comfortable life. But just then, I suddenly felt a powerful magic rushing rapidly towards my location. With a bang, the next instant, I was blasted away. I was utterly shocked at what just had happened. More importantly, my house is gone. As the smoke gradually cleared, I could see the figure of the person who arrived. It was Lucy. At that moment, Lucy was still muttering to herself. I almost died. This left me speechless. You are the strongest mage in the world. Who could possibly kill you? Lucy shivered as she recounted Belle's terrifying story. Originally, she got caught slacking off by Belle, so she hastily used teleportation magic to escape, which led to the current situation. Looking at the huge crater in the ground, I could no longer tolerate this person and immediately gave her a whack on the head. Belle is such a good person, and yet you keep hiding from her every day. What I didn't expect was, Lucy didn't activate any defensive magic. It turns out, she had already depleted her magic power just before. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. This was the perfect opportunity for revenge. To thank her for her special care over this period, I decided to offer her some flick in the head and take the opportunity to teach her a good lesson on behalf of Maid Belle. Later, I arrive at the library. Since I plan to build a more robust house, the library is a necessary place to visit. It is essential to learn well about construction knowledge. As time passed, it soon reached closing time. Just as I was engrossed in the books, a girl suddenly interrupted me. She smiled, introducing herself. My name is Elka Island. She looked at me with an eager expression, which made me feel a bit embarrassed. Despite this, I told her my name. However, when she heard my name, she was visibly startled, but her reaction was within my expectations. After all, Ed's bad reputation is well known. Unexpectedly, she laughed and said, "You're extremely different from what the rumors say. A haughty person wouldn't be studying 5 or 6 different books in the library. I guess rumors are not to be trusted after all." She even said she thought my personality resembled someone she knew. "I'll be cheering for you." After a brief chat, she said goodbye to me. Just when I breathed a sigh of relief, I suddenly sensed a terrifying presence. Immediately after, the entire library began to shake violently, and a bookshelf toppled towards Elka. At the same time, a huge magical circle covered the academy's teaching building, temporary camp in front of the student center. Thanks to the main character, Taylor, and his friends' efforts, many students gathered at the camp. This sudden situation caught everyone off guard, as it was dark summoning magic to summon the highest-ranked spirit of darkness, Glaskin. According to their speculation, currently, only one person could do this, the sophomore class leader, the rampaging Janica Faylover. Phinia realized that if Janica wasn't stopped immediately, the destruction of the school's barrier was just a matter of time. Therefore, they must unite to fight. However, the principal and most of the teachers were away on business, and now they could only rely on the students working together to have a chance to counter the high-level spirits. Hearing this, Clebius is greatly against it. The current situation is, they must first find a way to defeat the intermediate spirits on the periphery before they can enter the interior of the formation. But the problem is, inside the formation there are two high-level spirits, the rampaging high-level fire spirit Tarkan and the high-level dark elf spirit Philosopher. Us newbies going in there would be no different from committing suicide. Lortel felt puzzled about this. Even if Janica is that powerful, how could she possibly summon so many high-level spirits at once? Isla explained, most of the power comes from Philosopher. Janica just acts as a medium to manifest this power. Spirit of darkness are the natural enemies of spirit sorcerers. They are demons that manipulate spirit sorcerers. Although it's unclear how Philosopher managed to control Janica, who is proficient in spirit studies, none of that matters now. What's most important right now is to decide our course of action. Someone needs to unite everyone. Currently, in terms of status and position, only Princess Phinia is suitable. At this moment, everyone is waiting for Phinia to make a decision. Suddenly, Phinia recalled the words of that man. It would be nice if you could really relax. She bears an extremely important responsibility on her shoulders, so she immediately issued an order. Guardian Knight Claire, along with the class leaders and students of Class A, follow me. I will take all the responsibility from here on. Following that, a student reported to Phinia, Ophelis Hall and the magical medicine storage have been sealed off. It is currently impossible to regroup. Phinia had no choice but to rely on the few of them for the fight. At the same time, a girl ran up to the group in a panic, reporting that two more students were trapped in the library. When he heard the name Elka, Zix immediately became distraught, and he declared right away that he would go to rescue her. However, everyone stopped him. Isn't there another student with her? Maybe we can trust him. Phinia immediately asked, what's the other person's name? What are you hiding? Tell me right now. The girl hesitated, and finally slowly said, Ed Roth Taylor. Hearing this, Zix aura darkened, and everyone's face also darkened. Seeing Zix about to lose control, Phinia signaled him to calm down. Maybe we can choose to trust him this time. Looking at the dark energy shooting up into the sky, the few present fell silent. Even Lortel was stunned. Immediately after, Zix ran towards the library, because for him, Elka is the most important person. Zix, originally just a vagabond on the plains, struggled every day like a wolf cub to survive. It was Elka who brought him back to human society, and her father even treated Zix like family. Chasing after the fast-paced life of civilization, the savage life became a distant memory at some point, and the wolf cub became a man. But if anything happened to Elka, Zix wouldn't mind reverting to a true beast. When Zix learned that Elka and Ed were trapped in the library, he rushed over without hesitation, because he had heard many rumors about Ed, forging exam papers to insult the princess, harassing female classmates. He didn't know what Ed might do to Elka. When Zix arrived at the library, he found Ed injured. His first action was to ask about Elka's whereabouts. After getting an answer, he immediately rushed to where Elka was. Are you okay, Elka? Soon, he found Elka unconscious. Seeing her safe and sound, Zix finally breathed a sigh of relief. He gradually regained his calm. Then, he noticed the arrangement of the bookshelves, which seemed deliberately arranged like a barrier, and curtains were used to block the spirit's view. Next, Zix found a message written on the blackboard. When you wake up, don't panic and stay here. Clearly, someone was protecting Elka. At the same time, Zix noticed that the bloodstains on Elka's clothes were not hers. He also saw the bloodstains on the floor leading outside. Despite being wounded himself, he didn't even care for his body and went so far as to protect Elka. In the entire library, only one person remained, Ed Roth Taylor. At this moment, Zix felt very confused. How could it be him? 3 hours earlier, watching Elka being rescued from being knocked out by falling books, I didn't expect the plot to develop faster than I had anticipated. From the condition of the summoning circle, the battle against Tarkan had already started. However, Taylor should be able to handle it. I shouldn't even be looking at a place like that which is full of the storyline's key characters, because I can't let the future change. Even so, time is gold, and I can't afford to sit idly. I need to block the entrance to the library first, to prevent rampaging dark spirits from breaking in, and then focus on how to build my cabin. Luckily, I also brought some jerky, which can serve as a late-night snack. Just then, I sensed disturbances outside. It seems the rampaging dark spirits had already broken in. What makes Janica's power so special is her strong command of spirit understanding and spirit connection. These two stats grow through contact with spirits. For me, me, who can't even see spirits, raising my spirit stat is close to impossible. However, these dark spirits have become a source of experience for me. This sweet-ass event. Thanks for the meal. After hunting a few dark spirits, my fire magic reached level 12, and my spirit magic was also raised to level 7. If my sensing and understanding combined exceed 15, I can make a contract with a spirit. But now, I no longer have the energy to continue fighting. Then, Zix came over to ask what I was doing. I guess he couldn't turn a blind eye to me after seeing me injured, so I told him truthfully, I'm training. However, such an answer, no one would believe. Zix finally understood why people don't understand Ed, because it's simply impossible to see what he's really up to. Afterwards, he expressed his deepest thanks to me because I had saved Elka. He said, in the future, I will definitely repay this favor. I remember that Elka is Zix's lover, but her name only briefly appeared in the setting collection. I had long forgotten it. However, Zix has always played the role of a friend who believes in Taylor and is one of the important characters in the game. Then, I urged Zix to hurry back to the student union building and told him, as long as you do things Taylor's way, all problems will be resolved. Hearing this, Zix looked puzzled because he had only spoken to Taylor once. In Act 1, Scene 9 of the game, the main skill Taylor learns is Element Slash, and the key to passing this part of the plot relies on this skill. As long as Taylor uses Element Slash, he can defeat the enemy. Thank you for the advice. I've already given the advice. Things should now progress according to the original storyline. However, I have a nagging feeling that something is not right. Why isn't Zix Taylor's friend yet? According to the original work, in the duel in Chapter 1, Taylor was badly beaten by Zix, but he learned Element Slash and used this skill to cut down Zix's magic. Seeing Taylor's indomitable will, Zix eventually acknowledged him, and the two became friends. But now, the final chapter of Act 1 has arrived a month earlier than in the original work. Zix is not yet Taylor's friend, and Taylor has not yet learned Element Slash. That means, right now, no one can harm Tarkan. I just didn't seem to realize it, but damn, the whole plot is already falling apart. Back at the student square, Zix apologized to Fenia, and Fenia did not punish him. She knows, even with him, the outcome cannot be changed from defeat. Even their strongest, Claire, is already injured. At this moment, Fenia doesn't know what to do. Fortunately, the retreat is successful, but Claire's out of the squad, and Clebius, the top student of the first-year combat faculty, was also injured. Let's do our best to eliminate Tarkan with the people we have. However, I immediately dismissed Fenia's idea of defeating Tarkan. Judging from the summoning ritual, Glaskin is about to arrive fully, so we now need to split into two teams. Originally, I just wanted to stay in the background, waiting for Taylor to deal with Tarkan, but now, I have to start intervening in the plot. Hearing this, Clebius did not support my proposal, but Zix stopped him. Maybe we should let him finish. So, I briefly explained the plan. We need to bypass Tarkan, the fire spirit summoned by Janica, and directly attack Janica, who is controlled by the dark elf philosopher. But you have already fought with Tarkan and should know, its shell is too hard to damage. So, we need to split into two groups. One group to distract Tarkan, the other to enter the combat training field and subdue the controlled Janica. At this point, Lortel raised an objection. No way. This one's nothing like the Tarkan in the combat practice. We only managed to retreat out of pure luck. If things go wrong, the other team will face two enemies at once. It's too big a risk. To this, I indicated that this was the most effective method available. The most important thing is to awaken Janica. Once she comes to, the problem with Tarkan will naturally resolve. But now, the question arises, who will draw Tarkan's attention? The students discussed this fervently because it sounded like a suicide mission. Just then, Taylor was the first to volunteer, but I immediately refused him. The combat team is a better fit for you. Moreover, everyone seems to have misunderstood something. I'm not choosing a sacrificial scapegoat. So, I picked the two most suitable candidates, Clebius and Lortel, plus me. That should be enough. Upon hearing this, both of them expressed their refusal. Face Tarkan with you? Isn't that just sending us to our deaths? Just then, Princess Fenia stepped forward. Although she didn't understand why I arranged it this way, after interacting with me over this period, she chose to trust my approach. I command, in the name of Fenia Klol, the third princess of the Klol Empire, that the expedition team be split into two groups. Taylor, Zix, Alvira, Isla, and I will be part of subduing Janica. Clebius, Lortel, and Ed are responsible for drawing Tarkan's attention. I'll keep this short, as we don't have much time. Do not get yourself killed, no matter what. Soon, we encounter Tarkan. How are you going to stall time with that fire lizard as your opponent? Lortel asked curiously. Just do what I tell you to. If things go according to plan, we'll definitely win. On the way, I didn't forget to reassure Clebius not to worry. Even though you're not confident in your own strength, you are still the leader of the combat department. Seeing my confident demeanor, Clebius felt puzzled. Does this guy really have a plan? Despite this, Clebius also felt a bit more confident at this moment. However, the next second, Tarkan noticed our presence. Seeing this, Clebius immediately panicked, but when he turned around, he found that Ed and Lortel had already disappeared. What's going on? Was I sold out? So you're trying to solo this? Realizing what happened, Clebius finally understood. He had been tricked. Damn it, Ed Roth Taylor, why on earth are you doing this to me? Just now. After leading Clebius to face Tarkan, I stopped moving. Lortel indignantly questioned, "So you mean to say, you want Clebius to sacrifice himself to complete the plan?" To this, I immediately denied her assumption. "Don't underestimate Clebius. Among us, his stamina is the strongest, and Lortel, your task is the most important. You need to clear a path for the subduing team. Even the heavy task of subduing Tarkan rests on you." Lortel stood in the corridor, began chanting a spell. "I'm sure everyone will hesitate and doubt themselves, but you're good at this stuff. Just blow it up." In the next moment, she blasted the entire wall, leaving a huge hole. This scene, it left several people stunned. "So what are you standing around for?" At that moment, Lortel finally understood my intention. In the last battle, she had used magic to blow off the ceiling of the training hall. That's why I had arranged for her to carry out this task. Ed Roth-Taylor is truly an interesting man. Meanwhile, Clebius was still racing against the Grim Reaper. Seeing this, Lortel gathered her magic again, because I had already explained the rest of the plan to her. Going against Tarkan in the student plaza means there's no escape. Since Tarkan can't run away, the only way is to apprehend it. Tarkan's defenses are too strong. We just need to restrict its movements. Leave the rest to me. I was seen holding Jerky, running continuously along the corridor, and then I broke through the innermost door. Since we're lacking our strongest firepower right now, I decided to activate a key character from a hidden plot. Lucy, at this moment, was back on the rooftop where she used to nap. Strictly speaking, Lucy shouldn't appear in the current scene, so she was still sleeping. But because Belle became very sensitive due to the issue with Janica, Lucy had used up all her magic while escaping, and that's why she passed out. It can be said, the game intentionally excluded Lucy from the main storyline to maintain balance. However, smelling the aroma of the jerky, Lucy instantly woke up. I immediately stuffed all the jerky into her mouth. Then, with all my strength, I threw Lucy towards Tarkan's location. The next moment, a high-level lightning magic was triggered and lit up the entire square. Lortel immediately activated a protective shield. This instant could be the critical moment of the battle. Tarkan's hard shell, which could not be broken even with everyone attacking, was completely destroyed by Lucy's high-level magic attack. Now, our attacks could finally inflict fatal damage on Tarkan. Having come this far, I'll take what I can as well. The last hit is mine. The girl was once seen as the favored daughter of heaven. Everyone had high expectations for her. However, these expectations, while encouraging her, also brought tremendous pressure and anxiety, ultimately leading her down an extreme path. At this moment, the hero party finally arrived at the boss's room. Janica greeted them with her usual smile, only this time, she was controlled by Philosopher. Hearing the demons roar, I knew the hero's act was beginning. When the sun rises, the script will end. But for now, I still have to deal with Tarkan. At this moment, I couldn't find Lucy's figure. It would have been great if she could help us defeat Tarkan, but the plot made her choose to keep sleeping. Lortel released 2 ice spears, but still could not kill Tarkan. But I know, we must sever Tarkan's head with one blow. This task could have been handled by Clebius, but his current condition just isn't up to it. So, I asked Lortel to create an opportunity for me. My life is in your hands now. Hearing this, Lortel felt the pressure. You make it sound too easy. Strictly speaking, this is indeed a big gamble, but I immediately dismissed her view. Rather than calling it a gamble, I prefer to call it an investment. At this moment, Lortel's lips slightly curved upward, because investment is exactly her area of expertise. Compared to those who rely on royal lineage, like princesses who only command others like kings, she prefers Ed's character. Since Ed has staked his life on her, she is also willing to risk her life in his company. At this moment, Clebius had exhausted his last bit of strength. Looking at the dark spirit, many times stronger than himself, I understand why he was so frightened. After all, a slight misstep could turn him into a victim of the dark spirit's blade. I tried to get close to Tarkan's position, because only at a close enough distance could I inflict damage on it. Meanwhile, on the other side, a huge red demonic claw descended from the sky. I knew that was Glaskin's right arm. It seems Taylor and his group had successfully entered the final phase. All this was within my plans. But now, the timing was not yet right. Everyone was distracted by the commotion there, but even with such a significant disturbance, Lortel remained undistracted, and of course, so did I. Watching Tarkan so close at hand, at this moment, I really wanted to shout, "Wind's apex, meteor strike." The next second, the wind blade I released directly severed Tarkan's neck. Congratulations on defeating the high-level fire spirit Tarkan. At this moment, my spirit magic was greatly enhanced, and finally, I was able to make a contract with a spirit. Simultaneously, Taylor, single-handedly charging towards Glaskin's demonic claw, shattered the claw with his own strength, then blasted it. Such ability, truly befitting of the protagonist. With this, Chapter 1 of Janica's story comes to a close. As the first rays of morning sunlight spread across the land, all of us were utterly exhausted. Lortel looked at me and said lightly, "It seems this investment has paid off for us." Afterward, she reintroduced herself. "My name is Lortel Keklin." Then, she grasped my palm, placing the 3 coins from before in my hand. "Senior, now you owe me a favor." It seems she wants to keep in touch with me, but I don't want to get too entangled with her, so I'll just have to take it one step at a time. Meanwhile, Taylor also came up to me, expressing his gratitude. gratitude. Although he has always held a grudge against me, this time, he owes me a favor. Looking at Taylor's demeanor, he seems to have awakened in the style of a swordsman. At this moment, he looks exactly like he does in the game. Truly cool. As for Clebius, he seemed a bit unhappy. That guy almost got me killed. However, this time many people stood by me. Fellows, who understands? Clebius expressed that he felt wronged. Then, Phinia mentioned that she could recommend me to the student council, but I immediately refused her. The first credit for killing Tarkan goes to Lucy. Taylor defeated Velosphor and Glaskin. They are the real heroes of this time. You're tossing the credit away. They indeed did a great job, but we are talking about you right now, or are you embarrassed? Alvira teased. To avoid affecting the original storyline, I always choose to keep my distance from the main characters. However, watching them grow, I can't help but feel warm and fuzzy. I watched them each play their roles in this world and solve their own problems time and time again. Taylor, who grows stronger with each trial. Isla, who aids Taylor in his strength. Phinia, who accepts her kingly fate and matures slowly. Zix, who seeks his own path within the cracks of civilization. Clebius, who starts to have confidence in himself. Alvira, who realizes that her life isn't all about fun and excitement. And Lortel, buried in gold coins, reflecting on her own life. These protagonists each have their own burdens to bear, and at the end of this road lies their trophy of success. Knowing all this, I turned and left. Subsequently, I arrived at the ruins of battle, a place I had never reached while playing the game. The stage after the story ends. Here is exactly where Lucy naps during combat training. I thought about it. Some things still leave me uneasy, so I returned here again. To make the protagonist's success even more dazzling, someone had to stay backstage. Earlier, I had discussed with Lortel the reasons behind Janika's rampage. Lortel once happened to see Janika's room. Each and everything in there was a beautiful symbol of sincerity and gratitude. The walls were covered with everyone's thanks and encouragement for Janika. Although the desk is large, there wasn't even space to put down 2 books. The sticky notes on the walls weighed on Janika's shoulders like boulders. However, the solution is actually quite simple. Just remove the sticky notes from the wall and toss the gifts on the desk into a corner. Unfortunately, like a girl from a fairy tale, Janika felt obligated to respond wholeheartedly to everyone's kindness and sincerity. Velosphor exploited the darkness in her heart, so Janika's rampage was inevitable. But why did it happen a month early? The protagonist of this script is Taylor. However, Lucy blew Taylor away with one move. Everyone at the school became a fan of Janika, and Lucy was able to contract with high-level spirits because she often went to the forest in the north, since it contained the perfect place to nap where my cabin is located. All of this is the result of a chain of butterfly effects from a character meant to exit the story from the very start. At this moment, Janika didn't expect someone would find her so soon, because right now, all she wanted was to have a good cry. At this moment, a memory surfaced in my mind. Marilda once hoped I could save Janika, as if to prevent her from falling into this predicament, almost as if she was pleading for my help. When everyone was overly caring and pressuring Janika, I chose to keep my distance, completely indifferent to her. Perhaps it was precisely because of this that Janika felt she could rely on me. In the end, Janika failed to successfully contract with a high-rank spirit, and in her haste to perform the summoning, was controlled by the dark spirit and blinded. In places unseen by others, she desperately tried to meet everyone's expectations. Despite her failure, she still wore a smile. At that moment, I stopped her. Although I didn't know how much this sentence could comfort her, I still said, "You've worked hard during this time." The protagonists perform exuberantly on stage, praise and applause pouring out like a tide. Yet behind the stage, it is quiet and dark. The first act's villain quietly exits the scene, completely unnoticed under the protagonist's spotlight. I have witnessed the completion of the first act countless times, and at this moment, the spirits are continually drawing closer to me. I was utterly shocked. I seem to see a different ending. It is only now that I feel like I've properly seen it to the end. My spirit magic reached level 10. The fire spirit, Elgo, is interested in you. The wind spirit, Driss, is interested in you. The high-level wind spirit, Marilda, has developed a strong interest in you. A few days have passed since the end of Janika's disciplinary committee trial. Janika admitted to all her crimes and expressed her willingness to accept all punishments. However, during the first trial, professors and friends all stood up to support her. In the second trial, Phinia chose to forgive her crimes because Janika had erred while under the control of Velosphor. Lortel also stepped forward and compensated for all losses. However, all these actions were not purely benevolent. There was profit to be had as well. In the contract, Lortel added a clause: have the taxes on all educational supplies sold at the school. Ultimately, Janika's punishment was as follows: cancel the support perks for the school's top student, revoke all prizes and honors, strip her of the right to reside in Ophelis Hall from next semester, probation for 10 days and suspension for 20 days. Upon learning that Janika was not expelled, both classmates and professors were pleased. However, they noticed that Janika often spaced out alone lately, presumably because she felt very guilty. In that case, we gotta step up. So, everyone decided in her presence not to bring up anything about Glaskin anymore. However, the first thing Janika said caught everyone off guard. Why is there such a big difference between liking and loving? Of course, I wasn't the one who asked the question. Janica continued, I have a friend who had a dream. She dreamt she married the person she liked and then lived a carefree life. However, neither Janica nor the other person is a fool. Janica, you're confined for 10 days. You can't meet friends, right? At this moment, both felt awkward to debunk her. What else did that friend say? Staring into the void in the room, she suddenly remembered that person's face. Annis immediately run off saying she has something to do. Meanwhile, Clara was caught in a dilemma. If not careful, the whole school might know about this, that Janica Faye lover has fallen in love. Then she called out Janica's attention. Shouldn't you think of this simply without much complications? Whether you like or hate someone is kind of a mystery. Isn't it better for your friend to just be honest about her emotions right now? To this which Janica agrees. Clara also informed Janica that talking such sensitive topic won't be great for her friend's reputation. Hearing this, Janica is flustered. You're right, Clara. It could have been bad. Thanks for giving me genuine advice. I gotta get back to the Ophelis Hall now to report my suspension. Clara then waved goodbye to Janica. When she left, Clara felt relieved. I did it, Annis. I prevented the rumors for now. Meanwhile, on the other side, thanks to Phineas' help, my tuition for the next semester was waived. I used the gold coins in my hand to buy some items, but I was curious why Janica seemed to be avoiding me lately. After the end of the first act, greeting Janica shouldn't be a problem, right? Just as I greeted her, she jumped in surprise. Am I that scary? Immediately, she made an excuse of having something to do and hurried off with her face covered. That stunned me. Even the usually kind Janica didn't want to deal with me. It seems changing Ed's image is a long and arduous task. However, next, I need to start building my house. After the magic level increased, tasks became much easier for me. The scene shifts 6 days later. Due to final exams, I temporarily halted the construction of the cabin. This time, my exam results were quite high, but Janica still ignored me. Her friends Clara and Anise, their faces clearly warned stay away from Janica. I didn't bother them, and summer vacation quickly arrived. I devoted all my time to building the cabin. Every time I went to check, I would always find Lucy lying on the traps, sound asleep. This forced me to abandon the idea of using beef jerky as bait. Belle often gave me some herbs and mushrooms, then asked how things were going with Janica. When I mentioned that Janica seemed to hate me, Belle looked at me with a puzzled expression. Time quickly moved to 1 month later. Building the house wasn't as smooth as I had imagined. One side's pillars and walls all collapsed. One day, I saw Janica and her group again at the pastry shop. Whenever Janica met my gaze, she would immediately run away, and her roommate was full of hostility towards me. On the 37th day, Zix came to help me. Following my last reminder, Taylor and Zix became good friends, and the story finally got back on track. Time quickly moved to the 45th day. My cabin was finally completed. Although it's still empty, not even a single piece of furniture, but at least there are walls and a roof now. Completing the house with my own hands gave me an immense sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. In the shadows, Janica was secretly observing my every move. At this moment, she kept encouraging herself, as if she had made some kind of decision. I'm done with the walls, flooring, and the fireplace. It'd be good to put up a fence as well, as a storage for the firewood, and a few other stuff would be great too. Just then, I heard an impact above the roof, like something landed. I came to check it and as expected it was Lucy. This isn't a damn nap tower. Then someone called my name. It was Janica. Finally, she gathered the courage and greeted me. This left me puzzled. Wasn't Janica always avoiding me? Time rewinds to noon. Belle and Janica talked about Ed building the cabin. She didn't expect Ed to have such a talent in this area, but Janica already knew this. Only now, she simply couldn't face Ed. Belle told Janica she had seen the structure of Ed's room, hinting that Janica could also take a look. Janica really wanted to do so, but every time she saw Ed, she couldn't help but feel shy. Belle said with a smile, "It's perfectly normal." Hearing this, Janica suddenly realized I should go see Ed's house. It's actually a very normal thing to do. Although she said this, Janica's expression was anything but normal. She braced herself and came in front of the cabin, constantly praising how great my cabin was built. But I was puzzled. Didn't the spirits tell you when I was building it? At this moment, Janica suddenly became uneasy. Of course they did, but they just mentioned it in passing. However, that wasn't the case. The spirits had been observing me 24 hours a day and reported everything in detail to Janica. When the spirits described it, they were over the top. Robust physique, majestic muscles, charming curves. Janica blushed hearing all this, but still, she steeled herself and said, "Actually, I don't know anything about your situation." Hearing this, I directly invited Janica. "Do you want to come in and take a look? Although it's just a cabin made of wood." Janica was flustered at first after hearing this, and then happily accepted my invitation. Time unknowingly reached evening. Ed built a bonfire for the night, and at this moment, Janica felt a bit anxious, because both Phineas and Lortel had done a lot for her. She didn't know how to repay these favors. I looked at her silently. "If you can't pay them back, just don't. Isn't it a generalization to think you gotta pay back what you owe?" Hearing this, Janica was shocked. I've never thought of it that way. Janica is such a person. She can't understand that the occurrence of these events is due to the genuine concern others have for her, which pressures her. Despite so many people paying her tuition or, so to say, investing in her, she still chose to move from the high-grade Ophelis Hall to the Dex Hall. All of this, just because because she wanted to owe others a little less, even if just by a little. However, Ophelis Hall has single rooms, while Dex Hall has rooms for 8. Living all day under the envious gazes of her friends, Janica felt like she was living in a prison. But in the end, these couldn't solve her underlying issues, and the vicious cycle still hadn't ended. Maybe I could help her a bit. Then, I said to her, if you want to be alone, you can come to my cabin anytime. Hearing this, she was shocked. You're always welcome here. I don't mind. Janica initially wanted to refuse, but ultimately accepted my offer. At the same time, she also said to me, if you encounter any difficulties, I will definitely stand by your side. I hope you make sure to tell me. Then I looked at Janica and she was smiling at me. When that happens, I'll help you at all costs. Hearing this, I felt relieved, then looked up in the sky. Overwhelmed, you say? Deep in the night, I thought how second semester was approaching soon. From the timeline, the second act is about to begin. The Sage's Seal Grimoire, written by the great sage Sylvania, is a high-level magic book, and the plot of the second act is triggered by it. The storm created by the Sage's Seal Grimoire will sweep through the entire academy. However, I still appreciate Janica's kindness. I thought to myself, there probably won't be any major issues, right? With Taylor in front blocking for me, I can finally enjoy some leisure time in the back. However, the dispute at Ophelis Hall sets the stage for the story. The top students of Ophelis Hall can almost guarantee a noble-like life, not only with servants, but also many additional privileges, and that's exactly where the problem lies. After the holidays, as students were returning to school, the southwest side of the Valori area was experiencing a torrential downpour. The school only provided return carriages and boats for students of Ophelis Hall, even allowing them to return a few days late. Those ordinary students from Dex Hall who braved the storm and worried about being penalized for not arriving on time were extremely angry about this. Eventually, the pent-up feelings exploded in front of Ophelis Hall. The proposal for support for returning to Ophelis Hall eventually ended up in the hands of a certain merchant, Lortel. This merchant had previously made contact with representatives of the ordinary students. His goal was not to help the students, but to damage the reputation of the academy and Ophelis Hall. All they needed was to find a common reason for the lesser and ordinary students. Will Lane, who was adept at provoking and manipulating others with his words, would pull the trigger for the rest. The reason was already prepared. This was clear discrimination against ordinary students. Ordinary students had to return in pouring rain, while Ophelis Hall students enjoyed special treatment. Will Lane proposed an amendment, actively changed the final deadline for returning, and acknowledged the special treatment received by Ophelis Hall students. This proposal gained the support of the head housekeeper managing Ophelis Hall and some departments that are responsible for reviewing school administration. These people were already on Lortel's side, actively supporting her suggestions. At this point, whether the dean accepts Lortel's proposal is no longer important. Just discussing this issue is enough to infuriate those ordinary and lesser students. The situation quickly escalates. Ophelis Hall is filled with artworks commissioned by nobles and wealthy families. The wallpapers, carpets, and solid wood furniture in the rooms are all masterpieces of artisans. The more property damage, the better, ideally ruining the entire Ophelis Hall. As long as these students create a disturbance, the school, already in financial crisis due to the Glasgow case, will face another fatal blow. And for the Elt Merchant Association, currently negotiating with the school to purchase the Sage's Seal Grimoire, it holds a very advantageous position. The Sage's Seal Grimoire is as crucial to Sylvania as the heart itself. However, in times of despair, people are even willing to offer their hearts. Looking at the overcast sky, Lortel recalls her life in the slums. She often can't help but mock herself, now being able to stand here as if relieved of a heavy burden. This land, filled with a romantic learning atmosphere, reminds her of herself once living in thick darkness. Therefore, she would rather be completely covered by the mud of money than reveal her true feelings to anyone. To survive, she constantly struggled, ultimately becoming what she is now. Lortel knows clearly, the essence of filth and darkness has never changed. Lortel has always been searching for her own kind. Even here in Sylvania, where people surrounded by halos gather, perhaps she might meet someone who can confront a life as wretched as that of a sewer rat. To survive in a grim reality, her methods are always the same. She's like someone hidden behind the stage, using a black curtain to cover the truth, a dark manipulator. The audience call her Black Veil. In the original work, during the occupation incident of Ophelis Hall, to stop the underachievers incited by Lortel, the protagonist team needs to break through obstacles from the first to the fifth floor, each level having a minor boss who obstructs them. First floor's minor boss, Toad, the decoy. Toad once mocked Taylor by calling him a loser, but was severely taught a lesson by Taylor and his group. Bearing a grudge, Toad was bought over by Lortel, becoming her pawn. His role was to overpower the rookie maid protecting the first floor and open Ophelis Hall's door and let the students in. Once the students get through the first floor, the Act 2 Phase 1 middle boss Toad plays a certain role, the role of stopping the main character and his friends who'd come after them. So, you're the one Lortel bought off. Page 1 of Act 2's minor boss, Toad, the troublemaker, officially makes his appearance. This character was supposed to be Toad, but somehow, I inexplicably became this term's minor boss. So why the hell did I become a middle boss? boss. If we rewind to 2 days ago, everything can be clearly explained. In order to train my skills, I had to use a bow and arrow while hunting, but after a semester, my archery skills still haven't improved. More importantly, in the camp, more and more frequently, I keep getting visitors. I feel like the fact that I'm living in the northern forest is something a lot of people are becoming aware of. Anyhow, among them, 3 of them are worth mentioning. The first is the extraordinary genius magician Lucy. Her visits are never at a fixed time. If you're not careful, she might just appear behind you. There's a door now. Let's make a back door as well. Are you going to make a chimney too? I push her away, but she keeps on appearing. I can't help it. After all, I really can't beat her. Conversely, the second visitor is very welcome. She is Janica, the top student of the second year. She occasionally brings me some food and even kindly helps me do laundry. For this, I am very grateful. However, every time I praise her, she turns her face away shyly, which really confuses me. I just can't understand girls' thoughts. However, when it comes to Lucy's appearances, Janica occasionally exhibits inexplicable behavior. The last visitor, known as the Golden Daughter, Lortel. Lortel is the mastermind behind Act 2, and she is gathering support for the rebellion at Ophelis Hall. I don't want to get involved, so I firmly rejected her proposal. If I don't intervene, everything will proceed according to the script. But when I heard from her that Toad had fainted, I was stunned. This confused me. Why didn't things go as scripted? What? Why did he faint? Tell me what happened. Just before this, Toad, according to the original script, went to trouble Taylor. According to the original storyline, Taylor was supposed to beat Toad severely. When Toad insults Taylor, saying he's worse than Ed, even less than an insect, a fist was supposed to land hard on his face. However, this time, the punch was thrown by Zix. No one knows why, but this time Zix appeared unusually angry. I don't have anything too hard for you to do. Take this key from Alice and enter the Ophelis Hall. When the inferior students flock there, you just need to open the door. I asked her, why me of all people? Well, regardless of how much money they get, there's no guarantee they won't rat me out to the Academy's inner investigators. If they say Lortel is the one behind all this, what will become of me? I can't just trust anyone. So, inexplicably, I took Toad's place, becoming the minor boss on the first floor. Ed, you were kicked out of the Ophelis Hall, weren't you? Don't you want to screw the Academy over in return? Lordald smirked. If that's the case, I just need to appropriately go along with the script and play my part in moderation. Before this story gets any more distorted, I need to bring the story back to its original trajectory. One day before the Ophelis Hall incident, I began to sort through the entire plot. Lortel's ploy to drive the Academy's finances into complete madness. As per the storyline, Lortel succeeds with this conspiracy and forms Merchantry, a profitable group in the Academy, thus creating a structure that rivals the Student Association, led by Princess Phenia, the idealistic Student Association, and the realistic Merchantry. The final outcome depends on the faction chosen by Taylor. For me, just see which faction wins, and then stick by that side. After all, I have my own life to live. Just then, Janica came over. Since she was moving out of Ophelis Hall, she brought many things she no longer needed. Seeing her expectant look, I understood she wanted to give me these so-called unwanted items. Knowing her intentions, I chose to accept her gifts. Upon hearing this, Janica seemed very happy. Just then, she noticed Lucy on the roof. Curiously, she asked, does Lucy often do this? Lucy's unusually strong power is not without its costs for her. Using laziness as an excuse, she leads a life of evasion. For many years, she has diverted her gaze from the destiny she promised herself. On rainy days, this girl always immerses herself in reflection on her life, but eventually, she must accept her fate. When I told Janica that's how she is when it rains, don't mind her too much. I tend to just not pay any attention to her. Hearing this, she was very happy. Come to think of it, she's still inside Ophelis Hall. I remembered that when the Ophelis Hall gets occupied, a large-scale spatial protection runes was triggered, trapping all students in their rooms, unable to get out. Although Janica could forcefully break through the array with her strength, the cost would be significant. So, I asked her for a favor. Tomorrow night at 9, go to the Rose Garden in front of Ophelis Hall. As for the reason, I'll tell you later. When Janica heard Rose Garden, she was already lost in thought. I can't really come up with the words to explain it to her right now. I should just get her out of there in case something unexpected happens, someplace not too far away where she can avoid the rain. Thus, she immediately agreed to my request. I'll get going now. See you tomorrow night then. Having said that, she happily ran back. Seeing this, I breathe a sigh of relief. Around the start of the semester, the rain will stop. I can finally enjoy the bright, sunny sky that day after a long time. The long vacation is also ending now. Time quickly moved to the next evening. Following Lortel's arrangement, I arrived at Ophelis Hall. The preparations are all done. Ophelis Hall's occupation starting now. We can't take this treatment anymore. This is the land of learning. At least guarantee us equality in grades. The student representative leading the protest is Will Lane. When the doors opened, the students were initially shocked and confused about what was going on. They eventually started going in. Will Lane was overwhelmed to find that the person he was meeting was me, Ed Roth Taylor. I cleared my throat and started my line. I have always agreed with all the things you shout out. Of course, I lived well off in the Ophelis Hall, but only when I was kicked out, I realized the special privileges I enjoyed. Hearing this, Will Lane was so touched. I am a fool. I judge you based on rumors. I didn't even know you're such a great person. However, at this moment, I was too lazy to waste words with him, and I urged him to act quickly. Will Lane would take the fall for everything. I'm sorry. Toughen up, Will Lane. At this moment, the head maid Alice was locked in the conference room, the key person controlling the protection array. The array that was supposed to protect the students now turned into a tool to imprison them, all under Lortel's command. The story continued according to the script. Just then someone called me, the Black Veil, who set this all up. Lortel finally took the stage. When Lortel arrived at Offalis Hall, the story officially entered its crucial phase, because they needed to complete their plan before the teachers could suppress them. At this moment, Lortel suddenly stopped me. I know this is kinda out of blue, but have you ever killed someone? I knew what she meant, but I answered firmly, no, I haven't. Hearing this, Lortel smiled. I haven't either, but I have done similar things because I needed to survive. I understood. She was referring to her former self. To survive in the dirty world, she trampled on others' dignity, striking first to protect herself. But these actions were merely excuses she made for herself. This was exactly why she was called the Golden Daughter. She knew better than anyone that she was not deserving of sympathy. So, she ends up looking for it from other people. Lortel asked me, do you sympathize with people like that? Whether good or bad, loneliness always accompanies. To break free from loneliness, you have to find someone else struggling in the same mire. My answer remained, no. I told her, you have to take responsibility for your own choices. She is not looking for someone like me. After receiving the answer, Lortel was silent for a moment, then she smiles. I said something useless. That was quite unlike myself. I should go do what I'm here for. After all, there isn't much time. After saying that, she left. I sat down to sort out the plot. Now, Lortel must have told Alice about their plan going forward. Once they make the defense magic at the Offalis Hall go out of control and handed the control to the representative of the underachievers, Will Lane, the story will unfold with the current events intensifying. Then, Will Lane, packed with the dense protection of Offalis Hall's defense spells, will transform into the fourth stage's boss. Now I just need to sit quietly and wait for Taylor to storm in here. Just gotta do an average job to drag some time and then lose. Although I may get hit a few times during the battle, it's inevitable. At the same time, in the Rose Garden, a carriage all made of gold passed by, which puzzled Janica as it only appears late at night and is only used by important people. However, she didn't pay much attention to it because Ed had an urgent matter and asked her to wait here for a while. Could it be preparing another gift for me? Thinking about it made Janica blush. Over the past 3 days, Janica has been wondering what Ed would say to her because, despite feeling guilty, she followed Ed's movements through Marilda. It's not just Lucy, Princess Fenia, Belle, and Zix even saw Lortel coming out of Ed's cabin. Most of them are female classmates. Janica felt a bit sad after knowing this. That's why she was going to wait for him no matter how long. Just then, Janica noticed the persimmon flower hairpin on her head. Maybe Cosmos would suit her better now. After thinking for a moment, Janica decided to go back and change it because she wanted Ed to see a more beautiful her. Meanwhile, in front of the Offalis Hall, Taylor and his group have already arrived here. Taylor initially wanted to wait here for the teacher and then enter together, but he couldn't hold back Alvira's impatience to get her herbs cause it will lose their properties if she don't preserve it using magic in time. Isla, stop her. She's trying to barge in there all alone. Hearing this, Isla laugh awkwardly. Can't you just turn a blind eye? Alvira's the top student in the alchemy faculty. I'm sure she can protect herself. She's not the one in danger. Those poor students are. If she loses her mind, she's just going to attack them with any chemical she gets her hands on. Taylor and Isla tried stopping Alvira while she is determined to get to the 4th floor where her room is. Then she kicked open the front door, but when they saw the people inside, their faces showed disbelief. It was you, Ed Roth Taylor. Taylor immediately asked me why am I in the hall. Alvira began analyzing the situation. Looking at the messy hall and the disordered footprints on the ground, Alvira finally understood. This is interesting. I didn't expect this. So, you're trying to stop us? To this, I gave a definite answer. Yes, I cannot let you pass easily. However, at this moment, Alvira seemed unusually confident because Zix had revealed a lot of information about me to them. Although your proficiency in magic has improved a lot, most of it is basic magic, and on our side, we have a decent swordsman, the strongest alchemist in the first year, and a mage. Can't you see the difference between us? Why are you doing this? Ed Roth Taylor, tell me right now, what's happening up there? Seeing that I did not respond, Taylor was the first to attack me. Although I wanted to dodge, I was more interested in testing their strength. Meanwhile, Alvira kept observing me, and from the fluctuations in my magic power, she deduced that I probably only knew basic magic. For a mage, Taylor, who excels in close combat, is undoubtedly the biggest threat. However, the next second, I redirected the attack that was originally aimed at them towards the ceiling. The chandelier, no longer held by its chain, fell straight down, forcing Taylor to distance himself from me. The chandelier hit the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust, severely impairing their visibility. At the same time, Alvira sensed a dangerous aura. She attempted to counterattack, but my attack precisely severed the bag on her shoulder. More specifically, it cut off her potion bag. Potions spilled onto the ground. So you're serious about this? That means there's really something going on the floor above after all. all. Seeing I am quiet, she nervously looked downward. Looking at her potions on the ground, she hastily reached to retrieve them. However, I immediately cast a basic fire spell, igniting the spilled potions. The flames forced Elvira to halt her actions. Every timing of my spell release was as precise and smooth as flowing water. At this moment, Elvira finally realized Ed's judgment and reaction capabilities far exceeded her expectations, a stark contrast to the Ed described by Zix. Zix, you can't be leaving out information like that. This isn't just high magic proficiency. As the alchemy faculty's top student, Elvira was the core combat strength of their team, but the fatal weakness of alchemy is the high dependence on magical tools and potions. Once these supports are lost, her combat ability is almost non-existent. Most students specializing in alchemy carry emergency magic rings or necklaces, but Elvira, always considering herself a genius, chose not to wear these protective items. Ed seems to have anticipated this from the start. From the crystal chandelier to the recent firewall, the purpose of all this seems to have been to target her back. If that were the case, he would have gone for the back, not its strap. After all, this guy is just that Ed Rothtailor. However, at this moment, Elvira still had some trump cards left to use. She summoned a spirit rabbit and cast fire resistance and berserk spells on it. At the same time, Isla joined the fight, trying to extinguish the flames. Just the next second, a wind blade came at her, leaving Isla no time to react. Luckily, Taylor was there to shield her in time. Taylor knew that Ed was using this to restrain him. Taylor, you think you can take him down if you get closer? Elvira asked, which confuses Taylor. If yes, then go. Just then, Elvira completed her spell casting, and a berserk rabbit charged straight at me. It doesn't matter if I think I can, I have to. At the same time, she took off her magic-resistant cloak, draped it over herself, leaped over the firewall, and retrieved the scattered items. Seeing this, I need to act quickly, so I release Windblade spell towards her. With the items in hand, Elvira appeared more confident. Then, she threw a bottle of mixed potion. This is a special potion made from Dice Night butterfly flowers and gall mushrooms. When magic is released, the potion produces a special effect that can suppress magic power and eliminate the manifestations of magic, and temporarily subdues the products that result from magic formulas. That is to say, my magic power is now being suppressed. Acting like you're fine? We've got a warrior on our side. Now's your chance. Taylor, seeing this situation, I immediately chose to retreat backward, as I had already prepared for this. Then, I directly kicked over a barrel of oil nearby. The oil spilled, and the moment it contacted the burning oil, the flames surged dramatically. Taylor was taken aback seeing the flames. Elvira thought Ed was insane, because if the fire spread, all the students here would be engulfed in flames. At this time, Taylor decided not to hesitate any longer and used his newly learned skill, Elemental Chop, to end everything before any casualties occurred. Suddenly, Elvira noticed something was amiss. Is the window open? All the smoke was escaping through the window, and all flammable items had already been moved away from the scene. Could all this have been calculated by Ed? There must be more to this. She immediately signaled Taylor to stop. Just then, I pulled out my bow and arrow, aiming at Taylor. Taylor was full of confidence, believing he could block this attack. However, the arrow deviated in flight, and the target was not Taylor, but Isla. Isla couldn't even use basic defense at this moment. She couldn't dodge this arrow. When the arrow was only a fist's distance away from her, it suddenly stopped. It was Elvira who used control magic. After doing all this, Elvira finally breathed a sigh of relief. That was close. She used the claw hand, a magical device that can pull small objects within sight into the tool. At this moment, she noticed a piece of cloth tied to the arrowhead. Was Ed holding back all along? Wait, Taylor, be careful. I'm sure he has another trick up his sleeve. Meanwhile, I parried Taylor's attack with my bow and arrow, knowing in my heart that my task was nearing its end. Soon, I heard noises coming from the second floor. The second floor boss Gloomy Clebius had escaped. With this, my mission was successfully completed. Immediately, Taylor struck and sent me flying. Seeing this, Elvira was confused. What the hell is his deal? He stared at me, angrily asking, why would you do this? Elvira carefully recalled the entire battle process, and she finally understood. Ed had been playing us from the start. If Ed really wanted to finish them off, he could have hidden in the shadows, using the crystal chandelier for a sneak attack, rather than standing openly here to block them. And every step he took afterwards was very calculated, each detail filled with doubt. Are you done now? If you're done, go up now. Stop yapping at me, I told them. This left Taylor momentarily stunned. Just now you were desperately stopping us, and now you let us go up without saying anything? Elvira immediately questioned me. Why did you let us off? I'm not leaving this place without knowing why. Answer me. Why did you let us win? I know Elvira's personality, but I didn't plan to answer her, letting her speculate wildly. Just then, the door was slowly pushed open. The persimmon flower pin was her choice after thinking it over for the whole night restlessly. And the White Knight, who was supposed to be in the garden, yet he lay on the ground in tattered clothes, covered in blood, after being attacked by a suspicious group of people. This scene made Janica lose control instantly. It would be a lie to say that something didn't feel right. He may caught up in some unexpected trouble. However, from his simple life to the way he showed himself during the subjugation of Glaskin, no matter how big or small the job is, Ed Rothtailor was someone who had created a certain expectation illusion around himself that he could somehow solve any problem. Only after being stabbed in one's blind spot, hidden in their complacency, someone able to truly reflect on themselves. But Ed never asked her for help. He made sure that she was outside of Ophilus Hall and left her a letter that was so unusual. He did this because Janica had already been given various disciplinary actions due to the Glaskin incident, so he made sure to push Janica away from the battlefield. At this moment, Janica finally understood why I had sent her to the Rose Garden. It was to keep her out of this fight. Although she still didn't know exactly what had happened, seeing me injured made her very angry. "So what are you guys doing?" Taylor tried to explain the situation, but Elvira sharply realized that something was very wrong with Janica. "She's taken a stand against us." At this moment, Janica didn't want to know their reasons. All she knew was that Ed had been hurt by them. Seeing this, I immediately felt a sense of dread. Both Isla and Elvira were utterly shocked. As the top spirit master of the second year, her power was unquestionable. Then, Janica signaled to me, "Give me 1 minute." Watching the spirit group behind Janica, Elvira immediately grabbed Taylor and Isla and turned to flee, as they simply could not contend with Janica. At the same time, from my injured appearance, Taylor sensed that the situation at the Ophilus Hall was very serious. Facing adversity, Taylor never gives up. Clearly, he is destined to take the protagonist's path. Then, I grabbed his collar, pulled him, and threw him toward the stairway. "Leave this to me. Hurry up to the second floor according to your plan before I change my mind. Just a bit ago you were trying so hard to block our path, but now you want us to just go to the second floor?" Elvira looked very puzzled. "Do you really plan to handle these elves alone?" I didn't answer, just gently tapped her head. "Take your magic tools and leave quickly. I'm sorry I tore up your back." Without knowing what really is happening, Elvira agreed. To quickly end this crisis, Taylor and his group immediately rushed to the second floor, and my method to deal with Janica was simple: directly wake her up. I walked straight up to her, and although this act seemed very impolite, but this is currently the most effective solution, I placed my hands on her shoulders and softly said, "I'm really okay. You see, I'm fine now, right? So you don't have to go overboard." This sentence made Janica freeze. Ed actually put his hands on my shoulders. Janica's face immediately flushed red, like a teapot about to boil. Watching Janica gradually come to her senses, I gestured for her to call back her spirits. "I can barely stand anymore. The wind is too strong." "Of course, it must be hard for you to stand up." "I'm sorry. What did I do? I'm such an idiot." The people upstairs were instantly stunned. Was it resolved that easily? After giving them one last reminder, "It's up to you now," I finally exhausted all my strength and collapsed to the ground. Moments later, Janica, seeing my blood-covered appearance, had eyes full of distress. Although it was slightly different from the plan, I had completed the first floor boss's task. Next, I can finally return to the cabin to rest. Just then, Janica mentioned that she saw a luxurious carriage in the Rose Garden. Although she didn't look closely, the crown symbol on the vehicle was very conspicuous. Hearing this, my heart suddenly shook. That is the symbol of the president of the Elt Merchant Association, Lortel's foster father, the King of Gold, Elt. He is the mastermind behind the murder of Lortel's biological father and the fake boss in the final plot of Act 2, the battle for the Sage's sealed grimoire. After losing to Lortel, he disappeared. But now, what's more important is, he has arrived at the Academy earlier than expected. This means there has been a significant change in the course of events. Meanwhile, in the corridors of the 5th floor of the Ophilus Hall, Lortel was sharing her grievances with Alice. I was abandoned. Alice knew she was referring to Ed. Originally, Lortel felt a kinship with Ed, but when she tried to get close, Ed ruthlessly rejected her. "Do people like us deserve this answer for a lifetime?" Alice has been the head maid of the Ophilus Hall for 20 years, respected by many students for her excellent abilities. In order to make Alice submit to her, Lortel spent a lot of money, but in Lortel's view, finding a kin made the money well spent. Lortel always longed to find a semblance of freedom from her loneliness in front of those she considered her kind. She once risked her life over a gold coin in the garbage heaps of the slums. It was because she grew up in a dog-eat-dog environment that she clung so tenaciously to this sense of kinship. Regardless of her unfortunate past and the circumstances that pushed her to the corner, Lortel was clearly a villain and a black veil. However, just as Lortel let her guard down, Alice suddenly held a knife to her throat. "I'm sorry, Miss Lortel, I am not your kin either." At the same time, Taylor caught Clebius trying to flee and forcibly brought him back into the fight. The squad then subdued the 3rd floor boss, Kelly, who was in charge of laundering bed linens, and successfully advanced to the 4th floor of the Ophilus Hall. At this moment, they became even more cautious because the immense pressure from the 1st floor boss made them dare not take any chances. However, when Will Lane activated the defense magic array, he was immediately controlled by a backlash from the array. This was a conspiracy by Alice and Lortel. The magic power contained in the array far exceeded Will Lane's control. In an instant, the Ophilus Hall shook violently, and the students inside thought the building was going to collapse, each employing their skills to flee the scene. Seeing this, Taylor signaled Elvira to use the Night Butterfly Flower Potion, but the Night Butterfly Flower Potion was ineffective against the magic array. At that moment, she took out the anglerweed reagent, a concoction made by melting anglerweed seeds and emperor clam, which effectively restricts the movement of magic. After Elvira created an opportunity for the two, Taylor Taylor immediately launched an attack on Will Lane. Is it finally going to end? With a loud explosion, the fourth-floor boss was defeated, and the squad's progress became smoother. Meanwhile, I found the luxurious carriage Janica had mentioned, and indeed, Elt himself was inside. Normally, a carriage of this scale would be accompanied by at least a dozen others, but this time there was only one, clearly for a stealth operation. I was puzzled. The carriage had been parked for a long time. Why did Elt choose to get out now? Could it be that he was waiting for news of the destruction of the Ophilus Hall? Just then, a maid nearby caught my attention. It was the third-floor boss, Shinny, responsible for managing the cutlery. Shinny is one of the orphans adopted by head maid Alice, and by all accounts, she should be serving as the boss on the third floor, but at this moment, she was with Lortel's enemy, Elt, which was obviously not right. That is to say, Alice has betrayed Lortel. This outcome leads to only one possibility, Lortel's destruction. In Act 3, Lortel will engage in political struggles with Fenia, but now, this conflict has become even more complicated. I have taken the place of the middle boss, Tote, and after various twists and turns, I now find myself having to intervene again to handle some matters that Lortel is unable to manage. At the same time, I turn my gaze to Janica. I need her help. However, I don't know how to explain the current situation, nor am I sure if she would accept it. But unexpectedly, Janica agreed without hesitation. Whatever Ed needs me to do, I won't refuse. Her response surprised me, but it was mostly a relief. At this moment, Elt arrives at the academy, precisely because he has learned of Lortel's betrayal, and more importantly, Lortel now holds a secret over him. Elt had personally killed her biological father. Lortel used the sage's sealed grimoire to lure Elt to the academy, ensuring he could not focus on any impending crises that might affect the Elt Merchant Association. Alice's betrayal was because Elt offered her more money. If Lortel could offer more, she might return to her original position. Although your story of revenge is touching, I have reasons why I must do this. Alice's cold tone was like a sharp blade, leaving Lortel frozen in place. Meanwhile, Taylor and his group finally reached the fifth floor. Taking advantage of the moment Alice was stunned, Lortel escaped her control, as she still had a chance to turn things around. As long as she could pin all the evidence on Alice, she could clear her own name. However, when she tried to speak, she found herself unable to say a word. Ultimately, she fled the place in tears. At this moment, the only thought in Lortel's mind was to pin all the blame for the falsified accounts and losses on Elt. She needed to complete all this quickly, and then find a safe place to hide. Although she kept reassuring herself, the collapse inside was hard to control. Although I have been betrayed many times, now is not the time to be sad. I reached the room before Elt did, and as long as I could get the message out, everything would be resolved. Elt soon arrived here, and I was already blocking his way. Before the teachers arrive, I must stop anyone from entering this building. Currently, the plot is driven by three main characters. Lortel wants to dethrone Elt to avenge her parents and ascend to the position of guild leader. Elt tries to thwart Lortel's plans to ensure the smooth progression of the sage's sealed grimoire purchase plan. Alice moves between the two with complex motivations. Although I still don't know the real reason behind Alice's betrayal, according to the original plot, she will meet Taylor and his group on the fifth floor. I'm gonna leave her in their hands. I can trust them because I've already confirmed Taylor's abilities, while I just need to hold Elt back, ensuring he cannot enter the Ophilus Hall. As long as I block Elt, the affairs at the Ophilus Hall will proceed as originally planned. Isn't this Mr. L. Kecklin, the president of the Elt Merchant Association? Please allow me to notify the school to provide you with better service. Elt just gave a cold look. This old fox obviously saw through my intentions right away. You're one of Lortel's people. 10 minutes ago, to keep the plot aligned with the original, Janica and I found Zix. Who would have thought? This guy who looks all brawn turns out to be a mage. However, seeing Zix come with us, he looked very surprised. By any chance, are you two dating? Hearing this, Janica's face turned red instantly, and she quickly explained that wasn't the case. Seeing that I didn't speak, she thought I was upset about it and quickly lowered her head to add softly, "It's not like that." Seeing this, I immediately denied her assumption. Zix asked an impolite question. Seeing this, Zix quickly apologized. "Sorry, I thought you two were a couple. You even broke through the wall to find me. Is there something urgent?" To this, I gave an affirmative answer. There is indeed something very important right now. Then, the scene from the beginning occurred. Are you enchanted by her looks? Instead of guarding a coin you're not sure you can get, better seize the opportunity at hand. Elt sneered and continued, "That child, I raised her from a young age. I know her better than anyone. Just show your back to her, and she'll stick a knife in it. Now, I'll give you double the money. Move aside." Hearing this, I smiled and responded lightly, "Thank you for the generous offer, but I have never taken any coins, so what's the point in doubling that?" Seeing this, Elt signaled his guards to act, but Zix and Janica had been waiting for a long time by the side. "The next steps are up to you," I said to them. "I will definitely repay this favor in the future." Hearing this, Zix smiled. "Wasn't I the one indebted to you to begin with? Now, my primary task is to find Lortel and bring the storyline back to the original plot." Soon, I spotted her. Lortel was very surprised to see me, and before she could react, I immediately said, "Follow me closely." In Lortel's view, there is no such thing as kindness and trust without a reason in this world. Elt Merchant Association's receptionist, Shiro, was attentive to Lortel because he hoped she might inadvertently reveal valuable information. The company employee, Cadden, acted generously in front of her because Lortel often tipped him. Even the pet bird Tina at the academy was fond of her because she provided the highest quality feed. All kindness some with some reasons like that as a tag, at least in Lortel's world. However, even so, she still miscalculated like a fool. Janica, who grew up nurtured by kindness and love, was completely different from her. That day, how eagerly she looked at Ed, watching the girl in front of her who demanded no price and harbored no greed. Lortel also longed to have such a relationship. However, when she disclosed all her plans to Alice, what she received in return was a ruthless betrayal. Having seen such a side, one should never forget my gloomy, dirty self, Lortel thought to herself with self-deprecation. This time, she had bribed 5 people. Alice, Shinny, and Kelly had already sided with Elt, and Will Lane might also help Elt, but this person was uncertain. Just then, she stopped walking and said softly, "Sorry, Senior Ed. This puzzled me. I'm clearly on your side. As you can see, the situation is unstable. I might not be able to give you the gold coins now." But I ignored her apology and grabbed her hand. "If Elt catches you now, your life is over. Everything else is for after we escape." Lortel was stunned. She didn't understand why Ed would help her unconditionally. Meanwhile, I asked her about her current situation. If it were the Lortel of the past, she would never trust anyone without seeing a clear reason. But facing this man, she found herself involuntarily choosing to trust. "Elt sent me to steal the sage's sealed grimoire," she whispered, "because last summer, after the monsters attacked from the eastern mountains, equipment prices plummeted. So Elt bought up all the remaining equipment, monopolizing the market, hoping to make a huge profit through insider trading." Hearing this, I also understood the next move. This is illegal trading. 3 merchants, A, B, and C, monopolize the market's low-priced items, then artificially raise the prices by trading with each other, creating the illusion of scarcity. This behavior causes prices on the market to continue to rise, giving people the illusion that they must buy these products now, which is known as hunger marketing. If they sell the products they've gathered at this moment, they can make a ridiculous amount of profit. But the premise of illegal trading is trust. If merchants B and C sell the items behind merchant A's back, the prices would plummet instantly. And merchant A, who desperately sold off their bonds in order to mass buy the product and monopolize it, Elt would face a downfall due to huge losses. And Lortel, for this plan, spent years bribing other trading companies, enough to rival merchants B and C. So, you plan to use the sage's sealed grimoire as bait to lure out Elt, who is in dire need of money, make him leave the headquarters of the store, and take the opportunity to sell off the armor at the headquarters, right? Hearing my analysis, Lortel was shocked. How did he figure out all the issues so quickly? That leaves you with only one thing to do. We got to somehow notify the trading company to sell off the equipment immediately. I have a carrier pigeon in my room. It's my direct line of communication with my forces inside the headquarters. Then you win as long as you send that pigeon to the headquarters and stay hidden until the sale is done. But my father is probably expecting that as well. I'm sure he's planning to capture me tonight and make the traders on the inside confess about the whole plan. Hearing this, I fell silent, thinking of the next move, then looked at Lortel directly. "Listen carefully, Lortel. From this point onwards, you have to do your best to stay hidden and let absolutely nobody see you. The bridge off the island will surely be guarded, so we can have the coachman drive an empty carriage away. There's an incomplete cabin in the northern forest. You just need to hide in the cabin I built for 3 days. I'll send the pigeon to the headquarters. If I write a simple message like sell right now, your allies will take care of the complex matters, right?" To this Lortel affirmed. However, when I looked at Lortel, she seemed to be not focusing, so I grabbed her shoulders. "There's someone guarding the back door. I will take care of the troublesome person and then go to your room. When you see the right moment, once it's quiet outside, run towards the forest." Lortel is in deep thought. Like a longtime ally merchant, he perfectly and harmoniously made a move and handled matters without wasting any time. The thought that I could trust and leave it all to him is actually crossing my mind. At this moment, Lortel looked at me seriously. "Are you really in your senses? Why are you so out of it? Unlike your unusual self." To this, she called out my name, "Senior Ed. Why on earth are you helping me so much?" This question caught me off guard, and I didn't know how to respond, so I just fudged it. "I just feel like I should do this," I answered while walking out of the room. Lortel is eventually alone. Listening to the sound of heavy rain outside, Lortel inexplicably felt heat all over her body. Her knees felt weak, and it is so loud. Is it because of the fight between Alice and Taylor? But the sounds of battle from the first floor seemed even closer. She slowly placed her hand on her chest, feeling her own heartbeat. "I can't believe this at all. It's my heartbeat." The scene shifted, and I saw the figure of the maid Shinny. "I didn't expect you to be coming out of there, young Master Ed, for the supposedly last obstacle. This feels kind of bland. Now this painstaking attempted takeover is finally coming to a close."